With practice and qualifying done from Homestead-Miami, Brian and I are in to break down all things Straight Talk Wireless 400. We'll give you the DraftKings plays, the drivers to avoid. We'll look at the updated outright betting card and get you set for today's race. Today. On all of that and more on today's Angle of Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on grass.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining, it feels so weird doing this this early. The Xfinity race is still on. Usually the last couple weeks, it feels like we've been up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, finishing up the newsletter, finishing up the pod, and getting everything produced. So it feels weird to be doing it 12 hours earlier, but I'm happy to be doing it. I'm happy to try and get normal sleep tonight. That would be glorious. But how the hell are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. And like you said, this may be the first Saturday evening in a very long time that I'm actually sleeping, not in bed, but sleeping before we turn the clock over to Sunday morning out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So practice is done. Qualifying order is set. All the stuff is out. Like, we have odds to talk about. It's early qualifying and early practice, but my God, is it nice for like literally everything else.
Dude, I tweeted it this morning, NASCAR and coffee, a match made in heaven. I wish we had more 6 a.m. practice and qualifying sessions out here for us on the West Coast. I'm an early riser, just, naturally, and then also for work purposes. So getting to see stuff immediately upon waking up is a godsend. And like you said, and most importantly, we have all this extra time now to dive into the data, shop markets, record, write. This is great for content purposes, but then also just preparing for the race.
Yeah. Yep. So let's jump into it. We'll run through the pricing. We'll talk values, fades, avoids, all that good stuff. And we can kind of mix in our thoughts from practice and qualifying as we go through it. So Kyle Larson front row in it, 11K. Chris Bell right behind him, 10.8. Tyler Reddick puts it on the pole, 10.5. Byron starting 25th at 10.3, and Ryan Blaney starting 20th at an even 10K. 3 potential early dominators, 2 guys that can move forward and contend for a win. Let's start with Byron and Blaney first, because they're both really compelling from a look good in practice, should have the car, have history here where they've done well, but they're also starting back farther than we probably want, but it could set up for a nice day on DK, even if they don't get to victory lane. What are you doing with those 2 guys?
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to try to choose between the 2, because I think they're probably going to be 1B or 1C in terms of the most popular guy of this group, just because you're going to get all these placement points and the expectation is they're going to run top 10 or possibly even inside the top 5. And so you kind of have to try to, I think, distinguish yourself by picking one or none of them. With that being said, depending on how risky you want to get, I would say that Ryan Blaney probably has a little bit better upside here, just because he's in a point situation where he can't just finish 9th or 10th in the stage or at the end of the race and feel comfortable going into Martinsville, where, he'll probably be the favorite and he'll have a good chance of winning, but he would rather work himself into the championship race this weekend. So I think Blaney offers the potential for a better ceiling if he pops and he winds up competing up front for the win. Whereas William Byron, he's in a position where if he can points his way in stage 1 and stage 2, I think he'll be satisfied with a 5th or 6th place run here, just kind of where he's currently fitting into the playoff picture. So, I don't hate Byron, but I would prefer to go Blaney if we were talking about those 2 guys from a placement.
Yeah, I don't know. They're both really interesting, but I could see Blaney doing kind of a points thing too, only because he has Martinsville next week, a place where he's been so good that if he can get some strong stage points in stage 1 and stage 2, maybe put himself a little bit closer to that cut line and give him a shot to be competitive at Martinsville. But, whenever there's a shot, you got to go for it. I feel like a lot of people are going to start out with some combo of Larson Byron, or maybe a Reddick Blaney, a Bell Blaney, one of those 2. So maybe you start off with Byron and Blaney. You lock it in, especially if you're doing cash. Like those two feel really comfy. And then maybe you try, with like a Hamlin or something. And if you want to get real aggressive, you look at Martin Truex when we dip into the 9K. But let's talk the dominators. Reddick starting first, Larson starting second, Bell starting third. Who do you want? Like, because Larson could be dominant from the front row, jump to the front, and just smash. But like Reddick's number is also crazy low, and I mean both those guys make for a lot of compelling targets.
Look, I said it from the beginning of the week. I'm wearing the hat right now. I was going all in with Tyler Reddick this weekend. This is his win or go home race. He compared to the rest of the playoff guys, he sucks at Martinsville. So he can't not be successful here at Homestead. And we saw it in practice. He was really good over the long run. He was really good on the short run. And then he goes out and he almost bests Kyle Larson by a full 1/10 of a second in this final round of qualifying to grab the pole. They know what's on the line here. Obviously, he's one of the riskiest drivers in the field, ripping that high line. One slight ill move and he's wrecked his right rear, broken a toe link, and he's out of the race. So obviously, it's risk reward with him, but he knows win or go home for this 45 team, and I want every bit of Reddick this week that I could get.
Yeah, Reddick's definitely someone from a tournament perspective I have a lot more interest in. I think for cash, I don't, because I'm worried he might send it a little too hard and end up wrecking before I'm ready. I might be a little more Larson heavy. But yeah, we'll build some lineups and make some decisions for sure. Let's talk the 9Ks because I think there's interesting names in there that could make some sense. So Hamlin 4th, Chase Elliott 7th, Joey Logano starting 26th, but actually will be going to the back. I pull up the tweet from Pokerus to figure out. I think it was a suspension, maybe.
Power steering.
Power steering, yeah. So he's going to the back along with Christopher Buescher. So remember that when you're looking at lineups and pricing and stuff, at least starting 26th, that gives him plenty of room to move forward. And then Martin Truex starting 6th. Listen, I am the I don't. I might have to backpedal more than Chris Wormy on this week's Stay Green. Like, I don't think Truex is good, but the one place he has been strong, or like the one track type that he's been strong, is these fast intermediates. Obviously, we'll get that this week. He was really good at Kansas. He was really good at Vegas. I don't hate him as like a GPP pivot if you want to get off the really expensive guys and get like a Blaney Byron start.
Martin Truex Jr. Apparently decided that he wanted to show up this week, and he wasn't quite ready to take the boat out deep sea fishing. So, he qualified inside the top 10. Not a big surprise, though. I mean, he qualified on the pole here last year. So clearly they always unload with speed at this track. He's always been really good. Last year he was having an incredible race until his engine literally blew up on him. So I think him finishing inside the top 5 is probably what should be expected. But from a DFS perspective, I have a hard time thinking he's going to be mixing it up front with the potential race winners, knowing how respectful he is as a person and on the track. He is the last person in the field that I would expect to mess up somebody's playoff chances or anything of that nature. So, I have a hard time getting to him as a potential dominator or race winner, especially starting 6th. I just don't know how many more places he's going to be able to move up. And at 9K starting 6th, you would basically need him to win the race and rack up a ton of fastest laps and laps led for it to pay off, in my opinion. So in that range, like, as crazy as it sounds and as shitty as he's been, and this maybe not being his best of late, I would prefer to go to Denny at $800 more because he has more on the line this week than Truex does, and he would be willing to mix it up front and potentially wreck somebody to win the race.
Yeah, I mean Denny could be good. Like I said, I am not the Truex stan. He probably ends up finishing about where he starts. That being said, I do think if you're building a tournament lineup and you want to be a little bit unique, I don't think a ton of people will get to him based on all the stuff you said and the way he's been driving.
Yeah,
And
but
maybe,
I also think there's a little bit of what we saw with Kevin Harvick at the end of last year, where we're coming down his last 3 races. He's one of the most well-known drivers in the sport over the last 2 decades. I'm sure a lot of people play DFS recognize the name Martin Truex Jr. There's a lot of stuff that's happening this weekend here at Homestead. He's riding the same paint scheme that he won the championship in all those years back at Homestead. So there's those type of things happening with the 19 team this weekend. So I think he'll be more rostered than what people expect from just kind of like the feels angle.
we'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he's definitely more of a betting market driver than DFS for me.
I think for me, for a tournament lineup, I'm Truex, Hamlin, Elliott. And I think you're Hamlin, then Truex and Elliott.
Hamlin, Truex, Elliott. Yeah, I want no part of Elliott starting 7th.
Do you want any part of Logano, who will be technically starting 26th, even though he's starting 31st or whatever?
Joey Logano basically admitted that he's done little to zero prep for Homestead, and him and big ball Paul are out here already looking at telemetry and data for Phoenix. So, yeah. I mean, you can't take away past races here. So obviously Logano is not going to be terrible. He's going to be better than, a quarter of the field just based on overall speed and team he drives for. But he has zero focus on this race this weekend. He's going to try to run well, but starting in the back, I don't think he's going to be pushing it to try to win the race by any means. If he's still running like 20th halfway through the race, he's probably going to just check out and start talking about Phoenix in the car.
My expectation is that we see a race much like last week, where if we see Joey Logano on TV, it's because he's pushing Ryan Blaney to a win, or at least trying
exactly. He's multiple laps down. Like, we said this after he won in Vegas. One of the first things that came to my mind, and I think I tweeted it, like the first bets I'm looking for is any way to fade Joey Logano in matchups next week.
Yeah, but unfortunately, where he's starting and knowing that he's going to the back, I don't know if we're going to get any numbers, but we'll take a look.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk 8Ks. Chastain, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Tyrone Gibbs, Alex Bowman. Mostly mid-packish options. Anyone jumping out to you from this range as a compelling target?
Way more compelling than I thought he was going to be, and that's going to be Brad Keselowski. It's the first time in 13 races that he did not qualify inside the top 10 here at Homestead, presenting a wonderful opportunity of a car that probably had more than worthy top 10 long run speed during this practice session. A guy who you always want to target at tracks where tire degradation comes into play. And so Brad Keselowski became much more popular for me when he qualified where he did.
Yeah, no, I think he makes for makes a lot of sense. He's probably going to be popular, but given where he's starting, given what we think he could be, but he might be the right choice. So if you need to get off some salary, off of some potential rostership, he probably is an easy way to kind of go a different way, or maybe you go to him and then save yourself some room up at the top. But yeah, he makes a lot of sense. He's going to be really easy. I think Tyrone Gibbs, to a lesser extent, is interesting. Starting a few more spots forward, so maybe you get a little bit of a break on ownership. We'll see. Kyle Busch, anything?
I don't know. He'll be a little bit further down the board here, and needless to say, we have a couple of bad numbers here, but RCR did not qualify as well as I expected them to this race. They didn't look as good in practice as I thought they would be. Now, will that translate come race day when it's later in the day and the sun shining on the track is going to be stronger? Grip will probably be a little bit less. Who knows? So, I have a hard time getting to Busch starting 17th. I think the potential top 10 car, but I don't think he presents enough upside for me to want to play him where he's starting at.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can say the same thing as we said for RCRs for Trackhouse. Like I don't expect them to be like speed demons on Saturdays, but like they look just pathetic. And when they show up to the track lacking this
Yep.
much speed and this much pace, there's not a lot of like flipping the switch and all of a sudden being awesome.
Well, and then I think too on Chastain. So when you watch practice, he began the run really fast. He looked great, and I was a little bit worried that I didn't jump on any Chastain exposure after talking to a very reputable NASCAR bettor on the side. So I was a little worried. And then we got about 10 laps in, and you really started to see the fall off for that Trackhouse team was much more substantial than the other drivers in the Chevy garage, let alone the Toyotas. And then the, dare I say, elite SHR camp this week. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the practice reports, and on the long run, Chastain is only in front of LaJoy, Kaz Gralla, Daniel Hemrick, Eric Jones, JJ Yaley, Chad Fincham, and Josh Bilicki. So that
Now,
gives you.
I will warn people, like, some of that has to do with where they were running on the track. And I noticed when I was watching the raw data feed, you could tell when somebody was running in traffic and trying to make a pass because they were losing about, I'll say, like 3 to 4 tenths off of what their previous lap was. And then after they were able to actually make the pass, they kind of returned to their regular fall off number that they were getting. So, some of those numbers might be a little skewed there because it did look like in the cup cars, it probably takes a good 2 to 3 laps to make a pass if you're on the same tire strategy.
Yeah. Even his best laps, though, not great.
Oh
So,
yeah, no. I don't expect Chastain to be great. I mean, obviously though, look, if strategy comes into play and they're able to like flip a caution somehow, stay out long and get a caution at the right time and get track position, he's going to be good, but you can't bank on that.
yeah, I will tell you, Brian, our guy Riley Herbst is quietly making up ground. He's into the top 10.
I mean,
He's probably still got too far to go, given like 50 laps to go or whatever. But
when I did bring it up to you, what was he, 60-1 or something, 50-1?
Oh yeah, I grabbed 50 live, so we'll see.
Okay. Of course, I don't have any of that, so he's probably going to wind up winning. The only thing that I'm sitting on for this Xfinity race is Austin Hill, who is the best car all day, and then this final stage happens, and then the random caution, and now he's running third. So, story of my Xfinity year.
He's 3 seconds off, but he's 450 live. Elmer Roll is 850.
Whatever. I hate NASCAR betting sometimes.
It's so like bipolar. Just love it and hate it at the exact same time. Bubba Wallace, 78. Christopher Buescher, 77, going to the back. Chase Briscoe, 75. Noah Gragson, 74. AJ Allmendinger, 73. Daniel Suarez, 72. Austin Spindrick in the backpack. Gross. Gragson 16th is he going to be like Chalktoberfest?
Yeah. I was just going to say, after the practice that Noah Gragson had, I feel like you're going to see his roster percentage jump a good 10 to 15% minimum. So we're talking about a guy that was probably going to come into here 15% rostered based on like a mid to low 20s qualifying effort to 30 to 35% minimum based on what we saw in practice. The best car.
I think the fact that he's starting where he is too is like, oh, this guy was really fast in practice, maybe the best car, and he's starting in the mid pack, and he's cheap.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's going to be probably the most rostered guy from these lower tiered guys, and to me, it's telling me like every ounce of my like betting and DFS angling, stay away. Avoid, because he's going to be the most popular guy, which means he's probably going to finish top 5 or potentially win the race. And I'm going to be effed not having him in any of my lineups. But
yeah, I don't know. We'll probably end up clicking him, but right now I'm saying I don't want any piece of him. So we'll see.
Yeah. What do you think about AJ Allmendinger, who was like one of the most popular top 10 bets coming into the week based on number?
I don't know, man. Like, what do we do with that colleague team? And I know he's in the 16, but like,
That was my biggest worry coming into the week was not only did I not expect them to qualify well, but I just think the overall speed from that garage has really diminished as the season has gone on, especially on ovals. And
Yeah, and I think his history here and just like general optimism coming into the week, people seeing where he's starting, that's going to be
well,
an easy click. Like,
and the thing that blows my mind on that, sorry to cut you off, is
you're good.
people are referencing 2 effing races in the Gen 7 car as like, oh, tremendous history. Like, it's 2 races.
Yeah.
Dude, like if we went back and we looked at Ricky Stenhouse at a super speedway for 2 consecutive years, you would probably go along. Somebody who had never watched NASCAR before would look at average finish or something and be like, oh, that guy's the best driver in the sport. I mean,
That sounds like us our first year doing the show.
yeah, right? Like a 2 race sample size is not enough to tell me, oh, this guy is easily a play in DFS or he's going to be elite here. Like you got to factor in equipment, you got to factor in current form in the car, current form for the driver. Also, too, I think it's important to remember that AJ Allmendinger, he's currently locked into a championship race in the Xfinity series. So I mean, how much of his attention has been on the cup race here? Like there's a lot of things going on with this team.
Yeah.
And so him qualifying 32nd, I know he's been good, just like Noah Gragson. He's probably going to be rostered a ton. I think it's a good pivot off of him to go with like even an Austin Cindric who's starting 4 spots behind him. If he could even get 10 spots during the race, like I would rather have that than a Dinger who he could do the same thing, but he's at 20% more roster percentage.
Yeah. 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 There are some decisions to make for sure. 6K. Hocevar, Josh Berry, Austin Dillon, 6,700. Eric Jones, Justin Haley, Mick Driver, Ricky Stenhouse in the top 5, sure. Zane Smith, John Hunter, Nemechek.
Look, I don't care what I know I talk shit about RCR and I talk shit about Kyle Busch, but if you gave me the option, I could only pick one of these 2 guys, or I had to pick one of these 2 guys, AJ Allmendinger or Austin Dillon. Give me Austin Dillon for $600 fewer dollars, 2 less spots, but a guy who has 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 10 races under his belt here at Homestead, and only 1 finish worse than 14th over that span. That is a sample size that I can look at and be able to determine, okay, this guy is skilled on this track. And if you tuned in to the NASCAR betting preview show on Wednesday, you heard Tito Patino talk about, he actually had a conversation with 83, and Dylan admitted that Homestead is his favorite track and he was looking forward to coming here. So I don't know what else to tell you. Like if you hear a driver say that a specific spot is their favorite, I don't take too much out of what we saw in practice and qualifying. Come race day, that's when they turn it on. If a guy knows how to get around a certain track, they know how to get around a certain track. So I'm still going to back Dylan. I'm going to double down on some of his numbers post qualifying that got a little bit longer than what we saw pre, and just pray for the best.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'd much rather I'd rather click him. I'd rather click Cindric before I click Dinger. And yeah, I mean, even as bad as Austin Dillon is year to year, he tends to show up here even when he's got a bucket. So
and we're
happy
talking
to
about a
click it.
guy who 2 years ago he qualified 32nd and finished 4th, and it's not like he's been a qualifying maven at Homestead either. We're talking about only two top 10 starting spots at this track over the last 10. So I mean, he's used to starting mid to bottom tier here.
Yeah. Round out the rest of the pricing, we have Ryan Priest, Todd Gilliland, Corey LaJoy, Harrison Burton, Daniel Hemrick in the top 10. Why not? Kaz Grala, JJ Yaley, Chad Fincham. Barf.
I think you can safely say that Chad Fincham is unclickable ever. Yeah. Anybody in the 66 car is just simply unclickable.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to click on most of these guys. I say we start building lineups and see how gross we have to get. Because if we can avoid, like, I mean, if you want to talk me into like Burton or LaJoy or Gillen, like, I guess, but that's probably as low as I can go.
See, it's funny you say that because
Those are the
I
guys
always
you don't want.
gravitate to one guy in the very bottom part, and that for me would be Ryan Preece. If there's
Yeah.
optimism around Chase Briscoe and Noah Gragson with what they saw, I mean, clearly Preece looked way worse than them in both qualifying and practice. But Preece has 4 consecutive finishes here at Homestead of 25th or better. Last year, he drove from 29th into a 13th place result. So, I mean, you're talking about a floor of 25th. Like, if he can give that to us again at $5,900, I'm all in.
Yep. Let's build lineups. We'll build 3, maybe 4. We'll see. Who is your ultimate number one? Gotta have him click of the week.
Tyler Reddick.
Okay. Red dog. Byron.
Now, not to scare you,
Don't scare me.
the poll winner hasn't won at Homestead since 2020. I believe it is. Sorry, I just felt like I'd throw that out there.
No, I like it. You're up.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be a difficult race, but I'm gonna go down, do what I said. Austin Dillon, $6,700 starting 30th. I still have faith. Everything that I said. A driver loves a track. I'm gonna love them on race day.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the Cindric thing.
Extra gross.
Yeah, super gross, but 36th. I think he'll be fine enough. I think he'll be better than Dinger, which is right in that wheelhouse. I think Penske with, yeah, I mean, obviously Blaney will get most of the attention, but I don't know. I think he'll be fun enough.
Let's do Ryan Preece here and see what we can squeeze in at the top.
Ooh, I like that. 96.
Oh. I mean,
I guess my question to you is, who ultimately was like, what's the click you want to make?
For me, it'd be easy right here. I'd go Brad Keselowski.
Because we could, yeah, I think he makes sense. Because I say we could back out somebody too to, yeah, I think if we're gonna go Brad K, which I'm absolutely great with. Let's start.
I mean, I was just gonna. So there's also a world where we get rid of Cindric, and we can go with like a Gibbs.
I was just looking at that.
Who I think top 10 potential for sure, and if they hit on any adjustments, we know the car has speed.
Yeah.
And he's trophy hunting too.
And we don't want to do Busher. And we don't want to do Gragson or Dinger. Because I was saying, like, we could go.
I mean, okay, but I know we don't want to go Dinger.
But we're going to go Dinger.
I was just going to say, but I feel like that's safer.
Sure. I mean, if we go Dinger, that gives us an extra 9. Then we have to upgrade.
I mean, you don't have to.
That feels like a unnecessary. Let's see. What's 60? 60.
Yeah, I think it's 64.
Josh Berry, Eric Jones. Yeah, I don't want to click Dinger.
Yeah, I think it's a thing.
I think we just go to Gibbs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel much more comfortable with that because as good as Dinger's past is here, everything that I said, like I have much more faith in JGR than I do.
If everyone's gonna be piling in on somebody, I don't really want to click. I don't want to do the Chase Elliott thing we did last week. Like that was not fun.
Yeah. Yep.
And if I go down with the clip missing out on him, then whatever. But I think I think he's in a void.
Yeah.
Save.
All right, you gotta tee it off.
Yeah. I think everybody knows what the click's going to be.
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson.
Figured. All right, then we got to go Blaney in this spot. Oh my gosh, I love it. I was thinking about trying to fit those two guys in the previous lineup, but I wasn't sure if you were going to be on board with that. So
I'm in.
All right.
In like Flint.
All right. We're going to get really gross here.
So the names for me are Priest, Gilliland, Burton.
No. I'm talking, this is the Hail Mary of Hail Marys this weekend. Zane Smith starting 19th at 6,100. Look, I've been doing this the last few races or every weekend that I'm able to actually sit in front of the computer and watch all the laps. But Zane Smith over the long run during practice, which we only saw about 30 laps or so, he was actually pretty sporty, 25 plus laps. Like I don't really look at the lap averages all the time just because, some guys fire off different. Again, going back to who's running in traffic, who is in, who's making passes, blah, blah, blah. But Smith had some decent lap times late into the run. And I don't think many people are going to get to him because of where he's starting and knowing that you have a guy like Gragson, Dinger, and Austin Dillon all starting either well behind him or with better practices by the numbers in the similar type of range.
Looking at projections right now, he's definitely projecting a lot better than I expected. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, I thought he was good in practice. And too, that entire camp right there, Inspired, they've been good the last couple of weeks. So clearly, I suspect that they are the team that is rumored to have bought data from other teams. So I don't think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden they showed up with tremendous speed.
No.
Yeah.
This is great radio. Burton, LaJoy, Gilliland. Who stands out above those three, or like the most? Or I guess we could just do the.
I'd probably go Burton just based on where he's starting and the alliance with Penske. Still,
trying to see.
And he saves us the most cash, which I think at this point is what we're looking at.
And given like ownership projections too, like he's not rostered, but he's definitely going to give us some salary savings and some ownership leverage. So that gets us. We could just do Cindric.
Would you rather have Cindric or Austin Dillon?
Ooh. AD3 stacks. Welcome to the lineup.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's going to be a rough week. Like we're all in for a shit fest.
I love this lineup so much.
I don't know if I could say the same, but
that's great. That makes me feel even better. All right.
I do like piggybacking Blaney and Byron together because I think they're both going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We talked about it early in the week. Got a lot of exposure here. Marty Party in South Beach. Got to add it.
Yep. I'm way too excited to roster Martin Truex. I hate it.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Here we go. Old guys, welcome.
Oh, I love the beginning of this. I think you got to go Denny here. This is a perfect build right here.
Old guys. Old guys.
I mean, look, we don't have any exposure yet. This is the perfect spot to put Dinger in the lineup. I know we said we didn't want to click him, but we're only going to have him once. We just won't play him in the next lineup. I mean, if you want to stick with the old guys, you can go McDowell, but I don't know how much I trust him on this type of track with tire wear coming into play. Could get risky and go with a Gragson. Or even a Briscoe here. Ooh.
I want to click Kyle Busch.
Yeah, no, that seems a little. I feel like we need $800 to get a Blaney in this spot.
Let me just take him out and then go.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna do the Cindric.
No, it doesn't get us there.
No, it doesn't.
Let's do 10K.
You know, that's probably better.
Zane Smith, John Hunter, Ryan Preece.
We're gonna have two Priuses. I don't hate that. Look, I think Prius is a top 25
car. He's starting, given his salary.
Yeah, he's cheap as shit. He's decent.
Yeah, because we have basically Hamlin and Truex. We expect Keselowski and Blaney to get there. McDowell maybe like a top 10 car, borderline. And then Ryan Preece is like a top
Just get us 10
20
placements.
car. Gross.
And
this makes my stomach turn. Look at all these names.
But it's beautiful.
I'm glad you have optimism. The optimism I do not have. Let's go to the lobby.
Yeah, let's make sure Kyle puts these in a lineup here.
Yeah,
and then
make sure I enter him again.
And yeah, as we speak right now, live 19 to go here in the Xfinity race. Cole Custer with a 1.2 second lead on Austin Hill. Pit cycle is over with. It is now a race to the finish between the 00 and the 21, who I'm sitting on a 20-1 outright ticket.
20
the only outright I bet on this
race.
20
is not getting there without a restart. I don't think no, there's 98.
No. Yeah, the top two cars on the long run in this Xfinity race were the 00 and 21, with Hill being the best, and it wasn't particularly close. And of course,
but the one thing we have learned about all this time betting NASCAR, Brian, is there is simply no matter how good or bad your car is, you have to put yourself there and give yourself a shot. We saw last week Christopher Bell was the best car, and he did not win.
That SOB Logano, man, I just don't understand it. Oh yeah, which one are you going to put in your single lineup?
The Blaney, Byron, Larson one.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best.
That one's my fun one. Is there another single entry? This is the one I just entered. Yeah. I hate that they don't max. They don't gray it out.
Yeah, it should like gray it out or X it out. It
usually does, but it's like
that was a single entry, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Daily Dollar. I can do that one. I could put your weirdo lineup in there.
Woo! Austin Hill cut it to under a second. 16 to go, baby.
Where's the old dudes?
Okay. Oh, I love the old guy lineup, man. I
know.
2 years out from 40. I am looking forward to the big 4-0, and
I'm like 4 months out, dude. It's
officially being the old fart. It's great.
I mean,
I am all ready to get off my long guy.
You've been 55 for 5 years now, but that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, just a quick story real fast as Kyle shops these tournaments. I have an old basketball hoop that I have out front of my house on the sidewalk that I haven't played on in over a year, but we keep it there because I don't want anybody parking their car on the street in front of my house, which is the ultimate old geezer move because I don't want to see somebody else's vehicle out my window. Yeah.
All right. So I have Blaney Reddick pre-practice. There's some other bets we've been adding to get numbers locked in. Brian had Reddick and Blaney, so they're neither of them going to win.
Yeah, of course not.
83 stacks over Gregson. Good luck with that one.
Yeah, you can throw those in the trash.
Yep. And then the rest of these are all new, right?
No. So all of these are pre.
Oh, okay. I just
Yeah,
added the
they're all
Byron.
there in
I'm
the
going to be
show.
adding that for sure.
Which one?
Byron outright. So Brian's card was full. My card was just 2 outrights. I added a third outright. I'm going to add some exposure to something. I haven't decided what. I'll probably be shopping lines for the next little while, but let's take a look at prices. So Larson 325, Reddick 450, Bell 550, Denny 800, Ryan Blaney 10-1, Martin Truex 10-1, William Byron 12, Chase Elliott 14. As lineups, as prices sit, where's your interest going? And if you didn't have, if you weren't holding tickets that you're holding, where would your dollars potentially be going?
So this is a tough race to handicap based off of practice and qualifying, and then especially when you look at the points situation for a lot of these guys. I have a hard time getting to Byron at that 12 number simply because of where he's starting and his current situation in points. I don't know if he would be willing to put themselves at risk to battling up front or doing what is necessary to get a win here. When a guy like Tyler Reddick, for instance, priced accordingly, not just because of how good he is, but with the situation that he's in. This is a must-win race for the 45. So I have a hard time getting to anybody outside of that top 10. The one guy that I do think is intriguing me right now is Denny Hamlin, who started fourth. He's got a history of winning here before at Homestead when it wasn't the championship race, obviously. He's never won a championship, but this is a guy, too. He's in a similar situation as Reddick. He's currently below the cut line. He's really good at Martinsville, but if he has speed on any race day, he's always a threat to win. And qualifying on the front two rows, that's normally a good indication of where somebody's going to be able to run. Track position is key here. I'm a little worried it might be a little fool's gold like we saw in Las Vegas last week, but I think Denny is going to be coming out here attempting to go for the win. And he's probably the only guy amongst the favorites that I'd be willing to add post-practice when you factor in the point situation and all of that coming into this race. And by the way, Austin Hill took the lead with 10 to go. So
I know. I was just looking at that. Lines are flipping. He's now in first.
Guaranteed a caution is coming out before the end of this race. I already feel
Hey,
it.
if that gets Almirola to victory lane, I won't be upset.
That's so jacked up. Man.
You can let me refresh the line just to make sure that they're up to date, because there was some better numbers. Like Blaney at 13, I love. I know he has some work to do and get through the field, but that seems like a really fair number. I want double digits on Byron. 12 is the best I've found so far. I'm happy to take that. But I need north of 10 for sure.
So, okay, hear me out on Christopher Bell.
Listening.
You see that I played Reddick against him in prior to practice and qualifying, and a lot of that was to do with the fact that prior to stage 3 of last year, Christopher Bell was like a 10th place car. Like, clearly you can make adjustments on race day, but Bell had never been good here. He was open about the fact that Miami was not one of his favorite tracks. He didn't feel comfortable driving here. He is well into the playoffs, into the championship 4 right now on points. And so I think based on post-qualifying numbers, he's a fade for me again this week. Like or after qualifying, I just don't see a reason why he would do anything to put their advancement at risk, knowing that they're like 2 stage wins or, 2 top 3 stage finishes from essentially clinching a spot into the championship race. And then they can go for a win late. So for me, Bell, if you're interested in him, wait live again. Like I think you are going to see some cars come to life later into the race because it's a long race. Tires are going to come into effect. There's going to be a lot of adjustments made by guys. Same thing with Larson. I don't think Larson is somebody that you want to have any action on right now because his car on the short run was not as good as a lot of other guys during practice. And if he falls back and say he's running, 6th, 7th all day, just kind of cruising, that team is the best in the garage in making in-race adjustments. And if you can get him out to 6th, to 1, even 7 to 1 if a pit cycle happens, like then I think you fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't hate that. Man.
But I will say again, I'm gonna go back to this. I feel like if everything goes to plan, I think Tyler Reddick can run this race similar to what we've seen Kyle Larson do in the past, where he can just blast the field with everything that's on the line. If he's got the speed and he actually doesn't, Tyler Reddick himself, clearly he would be able to lap all but Larson and maybe a couple of other guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm fully preparing myself for him to do what Christopher Bell did, be the best car all day, run
Oh, come
awesome,
on, dude.
and be just a little bit short at the end.
This is the Ricky Bobby meme. Don't
Who's
put that evil on me. Like,
Who's
how
the most
dare
rando? Like, who's the Logano of this week? Chase Elliott, maybe. It just like
No, I
ends
think
up being-
honestly, I think it would be William Byron. Elite in practice. But again, I'm not touching that number at 10 or 11 or 12 right now.
Oh, I am. Give me all of it.
Look, if he wins, I'm going to say it right now. If William Byron wins, I will not be surprised whatsoever. And then the same thing with Ryan Blaney. He was good in practice, and he was the best car last year, and he wasn't the best car early. Again, it was the same thing. Over the long run, Blaney's car came to life, and during practice, it was similar. Very good long run vehicle. But wait on these in the race, because you're really going to get to see through the first like tire run and second run, first of all, who's got short speed, and then who can keep the tires on it the best.
Yeah. I mean, if the Darlington comp, which a lot of people have noted is really lives up to itself, Ryan Blaney should be sitting in victory lane. So that if we get the 45 or the 12, I'll be very happy.
Oh yeah, look, before I left Vegas, I made 3 outright bets. All good numbers outside of Blaney. I had Tyler Reddick at 7, Denny Hamlin at 10, and Ryan Blaney at 14. I think I got it at. So, you know,
I still think that's good. I'm honestly surprised as well as good as he looked in practice that his number is where it is. Obviously, qualified not great, so that affects it. But
well, the one caveat to Ryan Blaney going for the win here is what we talked about in DFS segment. It's my expectation he's going to open next week at Martinsville as a favorite. Penske is the best team at that track. Him and Joey Logano, the only cars with average finishes inside the top 5 at that track in the Gen 7 car. So.
And like Brian and I talked about, if you are interested in either Reddick or Blaney and you want to get some exposure, the championship odds should still be similar. I can actually flip over and take a peek.
And official F to the yeah, baby. Austin Hill wins by 3 seconds at Homestead, and the best car wins. Thank the Lord of NASCAR.
That means it's not happening tomorrow.
Or maybe it's all happening this weekend. And Tyler Reddick.
If you like Reddick and you don't want to bet his outright now that it's super short, you can get him at 950. There's probably better numbers. I know Brian and I got much better numbers. I want to say there's double digits, but let me see. Cup Series champion, 14. So if you're like, I love Reddick, I think he could be awesome. But I'm not betting, whatever it is right now. The championship futures might be the way to go.
Oh, you know what? That's interesting. I want to see what that is right now. If anybody has those open.
Yeah, I just set them 14 at MGM, and 950 at Caesars.
So 14 is an absolute play for me.
Yeah.
If you don't have any Reddick outright action this week, I think you grab that 14 number.
Yeah.
Expecting him to win, and that's essentially, I mean, I guess you're not winning the money now, but you're getting probably $10 of
but
value.
You're getting potentially the favorite for Phoenix and potentially favorite for the championship at 14 to 1. So it's basically a parlay. Win this week, win Phoenix, or win the championship at Phoenix, and you're cashing. So if I told you
Yeah,
you could get 7-1 on Reddick this week, which both Brian and I are on, and 7-1 for the championship, I mean, that could make some sense.
Yes, and before we get out of here, Reddick opened the week 25-1. He's down to 18-1 on the championship future at Superbook. So if you're in Las Vegas and you're catching this, make sure you check that market this morning and maybe add a little bit of red dog in the championship future.
Yeah, if you can get him close to 20, I think you got to do it.
Oh, 100%.
Do you like some of the longer shots? Keselowski at 20, Gibbs at 22, Gragson at 30.
Okay, I have zero interest in Noah Gragson at 30. Look, I have a hard time believing that Noah Gragson is going to get a win before Ty Gibbs.
Stenhouse at 100, starting
Nah,
fifth.
not at this track. Look, Stenhouse can qualify good, but no, that's not happening. I will say Brad Keselowski is a guy who, much like Logano, he can take advantage of strategy situations. He's gonna, if the situation presents itself, he's gonna be the guy that stays out the longest, in my opinion, on a tire run, and he could catch the caution at the right time and get everybody on old tires. So I don't hate Keselowski, but I like him in the peripheral markets, like top 5, top 10 type stuff.
Yeah, I might look at like top Ford too, especially with my Blaney exposure as a way to kind of get some.
And that market's going to be a little inflated too with how well Gragson looked in practice.
Yep. With the SHR guys, with Blaney, with some of the other names, it could be a little bit better price than we expect. Okay, Brian, we did it. We went through all the outrights. We went through all the DFS plays. We made some lineups. We all have those ready to go. Make sure you're checking out our podcast newsletter, aoppodcast.substack.com, aoppodcast.substack.com, where we post our favorite DraftKings values. We'll have write-ups, our favorite bets. Our full betting card is also listed on there. So if you want to know, hey, what are you guys adding now? Because I will be adding more. Brian probably will be adding more. We'll post it all there, and it's completely free, and it comes to you every race day. Obviously, if you're not subscribed right now, you can still go check those out and view this week's episode, as well as subscribe for future posts. And we'll be back. This thing will keep rolling into next season, and 2025 it'll be every race day, completely free. So make sure you subscribe now, so you can get those emails every race day. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Let's crush Homestead. Let's hit some winners like Brian just did with Austin Hill. And we'll be back on Tuesday to recap the week that was, as well as get ready for Martinsville, our second to last race of the NASCAR Cup season. It's been a hell of a ride. We appreciate everybody who's made it with us this far, even with football back. But I appreciate all of you.
Already suffering FOMO just thinking about the end of the year.
And if you're in contention in our Grid Rivals pick, our Grid Rivals pool, Brian and I are both fighting to get to the top, but we might not quite get there. If you're in one of those top couple spots with us, make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you get ready to get connected with us, because we are going to be sending out a prize, and we'll connect with you to figure out what you want. So for Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.